Top story for today, Chancellor George Osborne is presenting the new budget for the coming year.
The schools in England are planning to stay open for longer instead of closing at 3:30 p.m.
And 2 female suicide bombers have attacked a mosque in Nigeria. Welcome to City News International. I'm Damilola Ade-Odiachi.
And I'm Agda Corno. Today's top story is the new budget presented this morning. For all on that, we'll go to our political correspondent, Bethlehem Feleke. Bethlehem, what can you explain that changes were announced?
Hi, Magda. In a speech to the House, Chancellor George Osborne remained optimistic about his ability to have a budget surplus by 2020. This comes even after the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility downgraded the UK growth forecasts. Originally projected at 2.5%, the rates have dropped to 2.2% this year and will drop to 2% in 2017. In light of the slump in growth, Osborne will have to further reduce spending by £3.5 billion. Osborne can remain optimistic when it comes to jobs, though, as 150,000 more jobs have been created than the OBR had expected. Perhaps the most notably during his speech was Osborne's plans to implement a new sugar levy on soft drinks. The tax aims to curb childhood obesity and encourage young people to make better drink choices. It will not be introduced until 2018 in order to give the industry time to adjust. The £520 million expected to be raised by this tax will go towards school sport. The Chancellor has frozen fuel duty for the 6th year in a row. He claims this will save the average driver £75 a year and the average small business with a van £270 per year. He said it's the tax boost that keeps Britain on the move. Also frozen are the duties on beer, cider, and Scotch whiskey. Other alcohol duties will continue to rise with inflation. Funding for transportation projects was prominent today, with money being made available for a second Crossrail project in London that will connect the southwest with the northeast of the city. Elsewhere, funding for a high-speed rail link between Manchester and Leeds. A tunnel underneath the Pennines also received support in the budget, although the amounts involved are a tiny fraction of the total projected cost. For instance, the Trans-Pennine Tunnel, which is anticipated to cost £6 billion, received £72 million in funding today. Back to you, Magda.
Thanks, Bethlehem. Also announced by George Osborne, a major overhaul of the English school system. The government wants to turn all schools into academies by 2020. The bill, which could be introduced as early as tomorrow, would take every single school in England out of local government control and would also extend the typical school day by 1 hour. Academies are exempt from national curriculum and national pay regulations for teachers. They are overseen by charities that provide advice, support, and expertise to the schools they run. Londoners are mostly skeptical of the change. Our reporter Pierre Bertrand went out near Angel Tube Station to hear what some had to say.
Lots of children, 3:30 is quite long enough. Lots of schools already do after-school activities. I think it's just a ploy at present.
Well, the kids of today, they don't really want to be in school. The only people that want to be in school and learn anything are the people that go to university and go to higher education. Other than that, I think it's a waste of money. If you look at the academies, if you look at places like Peterborough, where they have a lot of academies, the academies are failing, and they're failing massively. It's just not working.
I know a few teachers and have worked with a few teachers who have been actually bullied into losing their jobs because their schools are turning into academies. And they have been teaching there for up to 20 years, and now they have decided to leave.
I'm worried because I can't afford to pay for a private academy because my husband's on minimum wage. So if that gets turned into a private academy, then she won't be able to attend any school.
Osborne's proposal is met with strong statements from the country's top teachers' union. Chris Keats, General Secretary of the National Association of Schoolmasters Union of Women Teachers, the Chancellor's budget statement is a textbook exercise in political distraction and spin. The education measures contained in today's budget statement are an attempt to distract from the reality of the Chancellor's failed economy plan. National Unions of Teachers Deputy General Secretary said the fig leaf of parental choice school autonomy and raising standards has finally been dropped and the government's real agenda has been laid bare. All schools to be removed from the support of their land, schools instead to be run by remote academy trust and accountable to parents, staff or local communities.
The House of Commons could soon be forced to hold an emergency debate over planned cuts to disability benefits. The news comes after an online petition against the cuts gained more than 100,000 signatures in less than a week. Earlier this week, Chancellor George Osborne unveiled plans to cut or re-evaluate disability benefits for hundreds of thousands of Britons. Our correspondent Chelsea Bailey spoke to Nicola Clark, whose daughter Emily will be impacted by the decision.
That's right, Dami. Nikki Clark is a disability rights activist, but she says her first job is to be a mother. Her daughter Emily was diagnosed with autism when she was 3, and she also has behaviors that challenge, which means occasionally she has outbursts. After several of these incidences, Nikki said she and her family decided to move Emily to a residential school. But in January, Clark was notified that the school would no longer be able to meet Emily's needs, and that she would need to find other care. That's when Clark began to take a closer look at Emily's benefits.
So since January, I've been attempting to negotiate the extraordinarily complex benefit system that we have here now. Emily used to qualify for the original benefit, which was disability living allowance. That was changed. The name was changed to personal independent payment. And also, because of her high level of need, her learning disability, and behaviours that challenge, Emily isn't able to work. She operates to about the cognitive level in her developmental delay of about a 5-year-old. So, but Emily needs to be able to live. The care will be provided by the local health authority, the commissioning care group. However, everything else, her rent, her electricity, her gas, her water, her food, all has to be found. And currently, she's only been awarded £57 per week.
Now, £57 a week isn't very much. It's only about £200 a month. Yesterday, Clark wrote an opinion piece for The Independent demanding a change, and she's not alone in that decision. Last week, a petition was launched, and it quickly gained 100,000 signatures. And I asked Clark what she would tell George Osborne and other government leaders in charge of her daughter's disabilities.
I tell them that anyone, at any time, can become disabled, whether through an incident of birth or through an accident in life. Anyone can become disabled or a carer, and we are far more likely to become one or the other than we are to become a multi-million pound or dollar global corporation that needs a tax break. The people who need a break are the vulnerable people in our society, and the carers who fight for them, and those of us who are being lied to about why these measures are being brought into effect. It's a lie. And I can tell you who didn't cause the economic collapse, and that were people like my daughter. My daughter didn't cause that to happen. Why are disabled people, sick and disabled people and carers, having to pay back this debt when they didn't cause it in the first place?
Finally, on a more personal note, Clark says she's unsure if her efforts to lobby the government will change anything, but she plans to keep fighting.
So I'll just keep going, I'll keep fighting. I do it because I love my daughter, but I also do it because all of us need to stand up for it because it's wrong. I don't require benefits, but I can use my voice to shout loudly about what's happening to my daughter and millions of others like her. And I think we all should, all of us, because we never know. It could be us, tomorrow or the next day or the next. It could be any of us.
It's coming up to a year since the Lib Dem government implemented shared parental leave. Anna Flerk has gone to find out how effective the policy has been over the past year and how it might change.
Shared parental leave is a policy still in its infancy. It allows for both partners to split their maternity and paternity leave so that both parents can take a turn in bringing up their children. Adrian Dyer, father of two, is a trade manager at Canary Wharf and also blogs for a support network called City Parents under the pseudonym City Dad. When Adrian took 4 months of paternity leave in 2012, shared parental leave had not come into action.
The snag was it was 4 months of no pay at all, not even any statutory governmental pay coming in. So that was a bit tough, but luckily I had enough savings to pay the mortgage, so I just dwindled them down and then basically went back to work when the money ran out almost.
Now, however, shared parental leave means that fathers have the opportunity to get paid for their time off in order to build relationships with their children.
Don't think about it too much, just do it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance of doing it. Your kids are going to love you being home and picking you up from school or looking after, depending on their age, of course. They're gonna love you being at home, and you're going to create a great bond, and it's going to be good for your wife to have you around, and then later, after your leave, you'll be hopefully more useful at home and you'll be able to share things 50-50.
However, shared parental leave is still tricky for some. For example, if the father is the main source of income to pay a mortgage and his company doesn't offer any enhanced leave pay, it can be difficult to take the time off. And so it varies on personal circumstances and what the company is willing to offer. In 2003, fathers were able to take only 2 weeks of ordinary paternity leave. This increased up to 6 months of unpaid leave in 2011. Today, fathers can negotiate with their partners how much of the 50 weeks allotted leave they take between the two of them. Although Britain has showed progress towards equal parental leave, it is still some way behind countries such as Sweden, who have had an established support system.
Quite often there'll be really good maternity packages because that's been established for a long time, but then there won't be the same for fathers.
Whilst shared parental leave means that both parents can take off time to look after their children, the fact that it's still the mother's decision to decide whether fathers can take off time means that it's still an uneven playing field for dads.
Yeah! Thousands of people marched through central London on Sunday to oppose the government's housing bill. They claim the bill will destroy council housing. Thomas Treble has more.
The controversial housing bill has drawn thousands of protesters in the streets of central London. The demonstrators claim that the bill specifically targets council house tenants who are the households earning the lowest incomes.
We're already in the middle of a housing crisis. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are homeless or threatened with eviction, and this bill is going to make it only worse.
The most controversial measure is with no doubt the pay to stay. Households who earn a combined income of more than £30,000 outside of London and £40,000 in the capital will see their rent increase. They will pay as much rent as they would in the private rent sector. Protesters claim that the measure would lead to thousands of evictions of those who can't follow financially the increasing rent.
What it's designed to do is to get tenants out of their existing homes. It does this by this thing called forcing high earners, which are actually people who are living on the living wage, to pay market rents. That's going to force hundreds of thousands of people out of their homes.
We're opposing this bill because we're concerned about what's happened with regard to the sell-off of properties and the forcing of people out of their homes because of the increase in rents. To be frank, what we need now is a massive council building programme to tackle our housing crisis. That's the solution, not this legislation.
The protesters also complain about the fact that there are plenty of empty office buildings that could be turned into homes, but nothing is being done.
There's loads of empty houses in London. The houses that they build, there's like 5%, they make like 5% affordable housing. Okay, why not just allow the people that live there to carry on living there?
But the government assures that the problem is taken care of. To Councillor Peter Golds, the bill is the only viable solution to solve the housing crisis.
There is already legislation on the on statute to allow fast-track planning to convert office accommodation into residential accommodation. That legislation exists. If people don't know it exists, that's their problem. I think you have to understand that you can't all live immediately where you would wish to live. It's very easy to talk about these things, but you've got 620 square miles of London. Within it, you've got areas of like all the parks and everything else. You can't actually knock on people's doors and go around, we want to raise your street to the ground so we can now build great big high-rise building and let other people come and move in.
Thomas Tribel for 16 News.
The UK will have to reduce carbon emissions to zero. That goal is now enshrined in a new law, which was called for in last year's Paris climate deal. Yukiko Kishimoto has more.
The proportion of carbon emission coming from transport is the second biggest after the emission from power stations. Oxford Street has recently been noted as the most polluted street with emissions, which highlights the difficult battle London faces in cutting air pollution. Drivers and bikers on Oxford Street are curious about the new zero-emission target.
Yes, I'm actually very concerned. It is possible if each and every car will be hybrid or electrical cars. It is possible, yeah. It is achievable. I'm sure TFA are doing a lot about that anyway.
Okay, they are going green, but the other cars, vans, they are not going green at the moment, so I don't think so.
Unless all cars go electric, then there's always going to be emissions. So no, I don't think you can.
It's not possible. It's never going to happen. And if you get rid of all the cars in central London, unless they have all electric cars, which will come sometime in the future, but under the present system, it's not going to happen.
I'm going to die 10 years younger. Seriously, it's really, I can taste the diesel, especially this street. It's really bad. I'm actually thinking about leaving London because I don't want to die young, because this is what I do for a living, and it's killing me.
Pedestrians are also concerned. Do you think it's possible?
I don't think it's possible to cut to zero, not without a big cataclysm or something to get rid of all electronics, but I think far more could be done to significantly reduce it, maybe more greenery, more renewable energy on maybe some more solar power on the roofs that more electric cars could take from.
Oh, it's just shocking. It's just absolutely shocking. I live in Italy and I flew back into London on Monday and I just cannot believe how horrible it is here.
Later this year, the ministers have to agree on a carbon emission target to be achieved by 2032. For City News, Yukiko Kishimoto.
Advertising junk food could soon be banned from children's content streamed online, according to the UK's advertising watchdog. Advertisements for foods considered unhealthy are already banned on children's television, but not online. The Committee of Advertising Practice CAP, which sets the rules for advertisers in the UK, will soon launch a public consultation on the issue. In 2007, the broadcasting regulator of Ofcom introduced strict rules banning the advertising of food high in fat, sugar and salt during television programs likely to appeal to under 16s. However, the same programs, when watched online, could still advertise for the junk food. A ban could affect content on services such as YouTube and ITV Hub. The move comes after recent research shows younger people spend more time online than watch TV stations. The average time spent online is now 3 hours per day for under 16s, compared with 2.1 hours watching television.
And now, for our latest international news update, here's Yukiko Kishimoto.
Thanks, Dami. At least 22 people have been killed in an attack at a mosque in Nigeria this morning. 2 female suicide bombers activated 2 explosives inside the mosque. The second bomber set off a bomb outside while survivors tried to escape. The attack took place in Maiduguri, northeast of Nigeria, also the birthplace of Islamist group Boko Haram. At least 18 other people have been injured at this incident. An American college student in North Korea, Otto Warmbier, has been sentenced to 15 years of hard labor for crimes against the state. The country's Supreme Court found him guilty after the student admitted to stealing a propaganda sign from a hotel while visiting Pyongyang in January. Hillary Clinton took it all in the last U.S. primary elections. She won the votes against the opponent Bernie Sanders in Florida, Illinois, Ohio, and North Carolina. She now only needs 42% of the remaining delegates to secure the nomination. Outright Republican counterpart Donald Trump had a decisive win in Florida but lost to John Kasich in Ohio. Marco Rubio dropped out of the Republican race after losing Florida to Donald Trump. 2 suspects are under manhunt in Brussels after fleeing an apartment in a police raid on Tuesday. The apartment was linked to the Paris attacks in November that left 130 people dead. Police found an IS flag, a Salafist book, and Kalashnikov rifle and ammunition. 4 officers were wounded. 1 man was shot dead. He was identified as Mohammed Balkaid, an illegal Algerian immigrant shot by the police as he was firing from a window. 2 other suspects are held in custody, and a 3rd one is in the hospital due to a broken leg. And that's all. Back to you, Magda.
Thanks, Yukiko. Next up is sports news with our correspondent, Patrick Hahn.
Thank you, Magda. Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton is under investigation by police in New Zealand after allegedly using Snapchat while driving a motorcycle on an Auckland motorway. This incident marks the latest in a string of legal run-ins for Hamilton, the most recent being a crash in Monaco that resulted in the total wreckage of a $1.6 million car. The United Nations has suspended tennis star Maria Sharapova from her work with the organization as a consequence of her admission that she failed drug tests last year. Sharapova was appointed a United Nations Development Programme Goodwill Ambassador in 2007 in recognition of her charitable work on behalf of survivors of the Chernobyl disaster. Sharapova's family were evacuated from a Belarusian town near Chernobyl shortly before she was born. A senior National Football League official has acknowledged that the head trauma commonly incurred by players of American football is linked to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, in later life. CTE is believed to be responsible for unusually high rates of neurological conditions, including early onset dementia, among players of contact sports like American football, rugby, and martial arts. It can currently only be diagnosed in cadavers, not living people, which has led some people to deny its existence. And that's the latest in sport.
Thanks, Patrick. For many people, finding time to work out is a struggle, but what if there was an incentive? One program in London has made it their mission to combine exercise regime with a spot of social care. Mariam Samarin reports.
It's a cool evening in London when you would expect people to return home to rest. This isn't true for the members of the Good Gym, a London-wide community scheme. It isn't just about the exercise for them. It is also about doing some good for their local area. Islington chapter gathered outside the Highbury Pool Centre for a run. The plan is to run to and from Sunnyside Community Garden, a 6.5-kilometer dash. So we're midway through the run, and as you can see, I'm walking. I just can't keep up with these people. With the help and support of a qualified trainer, they are able to achieve their goal of getting fit while completing a physical task that benefits their community.
Good Gym's all about getting fit by doing good. We do this in a few ways. We do group runs. That's what we're on tonight. We've run up here from Highbury Pool, nice 3K run. We're now getting stuck in to some physical work, helping the community, and we'll run back afterwards. It's just this idea about putting your energy into not just getting fit, but also into doing some good and helping out your sort of local area, public spaces, communities.
In London, it is a challenge to find time and find the right schemes. And I think what Good Gym does is it makes it easy for people with little commitment. They can just do one a month and they can do it around their busy schedule. There's no commitment at all, except for the befriending, of course.
I used to go running on a Sunday and I kind of lapsed, and so I thought, oh great, I'll get my wife out running. We used to run all the way around Regent's Park when she was trying to lose weight for a wedding. And she stopped doing it, so great, I've got her out running and we're doing these good deeds.
It's a nice way to get some exercise, obviously give something back, but also like do some manual labour, which is quite fun. Yeah, I wouldn't normally get the chance to do that in London, so.
Get fit, do good, connect with your philosophies, and this has convinced many to take part of the action.
I think it's such a brilliant idea and people want to get involved. The idea, I think, eventually is to have Good Gym in every borough that wants it, or every fairly large borough in the country.
This is Mariam Samarin, City News International.
On to the latest news in the world of entertainment. Here's Tatiana Qatar.
Thanks, Danny. Sylvia Anderson, known as the voice of Lady Penelope in the TV show Thunderbirds, has died aged 80 after a short illness. She was a huge influence on the entertainment industry and was one of the most prominent women in the film and TV industry. She was behind the development of a production technique using electronic marionette puppets called supermarionation, and in 1963 Anderson collaborated with her late husband and created The Thunderbirds, which was a huge success leading to 2 feature films and a toy and merchandise empire. Anderson worked on many other shows including Captain Scarlet and Stingray, as well as working with many charities. But we also have good news. The Walt Disney Company has announced that Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg are teaming up for a new Indiana Jones film. The entitled film will be released in July 2019 and will be produced by Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. The next episode will be coming after 11 years after the last Indiana Jones film, which was produced back in 2008. The 4 films have made over £1.4 billion at the box office so far. Ford and Spielberg first started working together in 1981 on the Indiana Jones film, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's it for our entertainment stories. Sami?
Thanks, Tatiana. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and I took a look about how Londoners plan to celebrate it. And then I took it back to where it all started, church. It's the time of the year where people around the world wear as much green as they can to celebrate Irishness. Chicago even dyes its river green. Almost everyone loves St. Patrick's Day. Thousands turned up to this year's parade in London's Trafalgar Square to commemorate Irish culture, and they did so with great flair. Thousands more are excited for Thursday, when they'll join in on the fun at their nearest pub, Irish or not, and delight in a pint of Guinness. When they do, they probably won't spare a thought for the man that the holiday is built around.
He got rid of snakes, I'm so sure. He got rid of something in Ireland, or he stopped the potato famine.
Well, I'm off out in Hoxton to get a few Guinnesses, make the most of it. I've booked the day off work the next day, so it's a once-a-year occasion. It's a once-a-year occasion to get absolutely drunk for. In fact, it's the only British day where it's just to get drunk. Like, it's purely just to get drunk. There's Irish in there somewhere, isn't it?
It's not that you have to be Catholic to celebrate it at all. It's just a celebration of Irish culture and heritage, all right? And it's not so much a celebration about the St. Patrick himself, all right?
Religious holiday has just become less important, but any excuse to celebrate and drink is a good one.
Be that as it may, St. Patrick is attributed with building the first church in Ireland and the conversion of thousands of Irishmen and women. St. Patrick's Day is typically celebrated on the 17th of March, which is said to be the day that he died. But over time, the celebrations of St. Patrick's life have become less and less about the works and deeds that he did when he was alive, and more about Irish culture and Guinness. This has been Ade-Odiachi reporting for City News.
Now for our weather report, we are going to Osama Hama Hussein live from Islington.
Thank you, Magda. So after a misty start in western areas, it will be dry and bright with some sunny spells. Feeling chilly in brisk northeasterly winds, especially in Kent. Maximum temperature will be 9, but it feels like 4. It will be dry. It will be cloudy and dry overnight, and some long clear spells overnight. And also it will you will have some clear spells overnight. Rather chilly later in the night, and but tomorrow will be. Thursday will be dry and bright, and we'll have like lighter winds on Wednesday than on Wednesday, and we'll have some good sunny spells, good spells. That's why we advise you to make the most out of the day, because later on Friday and also throughout the weekend it will stay cloudy and dry. So that is it from me, and back to you in studio.
Thank you, Osama. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching City News International. I'm Magda Corno.
And I'm Ade-Odiachi. Have a good afternoon. Goodbye.